Become the Moon is a simple game about deck building and random drafting that keeps things ever changing. This was a very neat game that I picked up during my coverage of the Summer Steam Next Fest of 2025. I felt like it had a lot of potential after playing it for over an hour. So if you're interested in the concepts of Hearthstone, primarily the PvE elements, you're sure to find this an interesting addition to your growing collection of card battlers with a simple twist. Starting out, you have access to normal and daily game modes, though nothing really changes outside of the unlockable characters at each specific stage. That would have to be my main concern with the release, it's just way too linear. Even if the game randomizes your deck each and every run, you're still going to be facing the same compositions each and every time without any major changes. If you're expecting something deep or fully expanded upon, it's more like loading up a Hearthstone match for a specific PvE event, already knowing exactly what to expect, then you start planning ahead accordingly rather than facing off against a randomized order of characters with different builds. For example, you've got the Cat Intermission stage, followed up by the Wall of 20s. It does start to become stale because of this. Despite the game being repetitive in a sense, it's the atmosphere and the vibes that kept me coming back for 5 hours. The music complemented the aesthetics well, like I was being lulled into the world on my adventure to become the Moon. Each character has their own specific powers to slightly alter each run. It's not like each character you unlock gets their own separate deck. Each character has the same chance of getting a specific card and playstyle as the rest, it's just some do it better than most. It doesn't overcomplicate things. If you're familiar with the deck builders and card battlers, everything you need to know is here. You've got your battles, your rewards to choose from, destroyed cards, exhausted cards, shuffling, and units that synergize with one another. Perhaps you've gotten a summon build that spawns a ton of powerful units with taunts, while summoning even more when they die along with spells casting on death. Maybe you have a deck that builds around exhaustion, where the more cards you exhaust, the more it rotates into a single card that becomes a behemoth. There are quite a few available playstyles and synergies, though it does start to feel limited. As simple and linear as the game is, it still manages to offer a great sense of open-ended ways to play with many systems that you'll be able to grasp within minutes. Even then, you will eventually find that they do bore you when you're repeating the same builds each and every time. When I mention games like Hearthstone, Become the Moon takes a slight twist on the formula. You're not going to start with a deck that you've personally paid for or built from the best cards and synergies. You're building one through randomized drafts like with Hearthstone's Arena. This means that you're bound to have a similar if not slightly altered deck than before. Each draft allows you one free reroll, after which you are presented with cards that slowly upgrade over time as you cycle through your deck and shuffle. Any additional rerolls after that point cost health. Once your leader reaches 0, the game is over. You have a limit on how many relics that you can use, so there is a bit of strategy involved depending on what composition that you've pulled during your current run. It adds a nice layer of thought beyond just trying to steamroll with specific decks that you want to force. Synergies are key to this game after all. You can have a really strong card or a relic, but if you don't have the right build to utilize it, your run can be over as quickly as that. In one case, I ended up pulling a lot of rare understudy Sonias and General Kois, so a build revolving around shields would work great. The synergy between summoning on death, applying shields on summons, with summons attack immediately paired really well with Sonia's passive alongside Koi, dealing 8 damage to enemy units when ally shields were destroyed. But even then, it still isn't enough to tackle some of the harder stages, which do get ridiculous. That's where spells and other mechanics come into play. I found it well thought out, keeping the content moving forward. Every time you succeed or fail, your surviving units and hero face off against the boss and his army. The goal is to avoid taking damage and let your units do the heavy lifting. It sounds easy, but with some of the combination of effects and enemies, it can be brutal if you're not paying attention or if you pull a bad hand. Daily leaderboards offer some incentive to push for the highest stage possible, but after reaching the top and getting nothing out of it besides the sensation of winning and doing better than most other players, I just didn't have much reason to return because it just felt lacking. While the game is fully released, it just feels like it's missing a lot of things from balance and proper counterplay outside of knowing what you're going up against next. While it is fun to play, it doesn't quite feel like it's a finished product, more like something that could be expanded upon with future updates, given it the vibe of an early access title that just needs some overhaul. I like the concepts of the builds, but I dislike the lack of replay value, especially when trying to replay the game with different characters. It's the type of game that you would pick up, enjoy fully, and then wish you could return to it but end up putting it down after a few hours of gameplay. This is because there are better options to choose from within the card game scene that just do it better and at a more reasonable price. So while I do like it, I have to recommend against picking it up if you're looking for something long-term or deep. It's good for a short-term session that you don't plan on returning to after you leave. You won't be unlocking cards, cosmetics, or any meaningful features outside of unlocking a new character. It's a game you just jump into, build a deck, play the same levels over and over until all of the characters are unlocked, so keep that in mind if you're planning on picking it up and trying to go for a 100% completion, because it's bound to eventually become stale.